Hi folks, welcome back. Thank you for watching. Please do hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It really does help when you do that. So today folks, we're going to be taking a look at a guitar that I've recently changed up a bit, and you might have spotted a video on the channel a few weeks ago showing you one of the key changes I've done to it. This here is my Gibson Memphis Custom Shop Historic Spec ES-330 61 VOS Reissue, which is a bit of a mouthful. But I spotted this guitar on a guitar shop website here in the UK a few years ago. I didn't know much about 330s at the time. Obviously I could spot the P90 pickups, but I didn't really know how they were different to a 335. But as most people will know, it's completely hollow. There's no center block. It's an acoustic guitar with pickups, essentially. And I'd never really heard one, at least knowingly, so I went on a bit of a deep dive on the internet, and the thing that really made me fall in love with the sound of a 330 was a video with Barry Cadogan, who's played with Primal Scream, and he's Little Barry, the band. And there's this video, I think it's a Guitar Magazine interview, where he's talking about his 62 330, I think it is. And it's quite funny, he's got this amazing vintage guitar going into this kind of very cheap Epiphone amplifier, and it still sounds godly. And the sounds he was coaxing out of that thing were just unbelievable. So I knew I had to get this guitar. Now, when I bought it, I did change it up, as I always do. So I've got the VI pots in here, 50s wiring schematic, paper in all capacitors, all the usual stuff. And I did change the pickups too. Now, the pickups I put in here, they sounded brilliant, but they were just missing something. I couldn't really put my finger on what it was. It was kind of, I think, like a sweetness in the top end. And overall, the complete guitar was just a bit loose in the bottom end, which you would kind of expect being a fully hollow guitar, but you'd hit the low strings and it would just be a bit flubby. It didn't even have much definition down there. So after a while, I decided to change this up and make it a little bit more like what I could see in that video as being kind of Barry's spec of the guitar. Now, the first thing I changed was, you might have seen in the video a few weeks back, I took it to Matt at Monty's Guitars in Cheltenham, and he put this Bigsby on here for me, because Barry's 330 has a Bigsby. And in that guitar interview, Barry said that putting the Bigsby on did help the low end of the guitar. And I really do think he's right, because as soon as this was on here, it became a little firmer in the low end. You could hit the low strings and it would kind of pop out of the speaker rather than just being a bit of a mush. So I'm loving the Bigsby. I can't stop waggling the thing. It's so much fun having a Bigsby on a guitar like this. But the other thing I did is I swapped out the pickups again. Now, these are a set of P90's that aren't very often available. I just got wind that they were going to be making some, so I dropped a cheeky email and eventually they made me some dog ears. I did have to swap the base plates off the pickups because standard dog ears for like a Les Paul Junior don't fit in the 330. So these pickups have the Gibson Memphis Historic Spec P90 base plates on there. But aside from that, these are the Wizz P90's. Now, Wizz are much better known for their PAF replicas. They're some of the finest you can get. But every now and again, they make some very vintage correct P90's, and this is a set of those. I can't really find any playing examples online anywhere of these pickups. So hopefully, if you are interested in a set of Wizz and they're actually making some, this video might be useful. But putting the Bigsby on here and putting these Wizz P90's in has just taken this guitar and made it from a guitar I really liked but wasn't playing too much to a guitar that I literally have not put down in the last 3 weeks. The Bigsby, these P90's, the whole package is just phenomenal. Now, 330's are kind of known as being a sort of cleaner, jazzy type guitar. Plenty of people have got gainy sounds out of them. Gary Clark Jr., Keith Richards from the Stones, they've all got rocky sounds out of a 330, but they're mostly known as being kind of cleaner, jazzy guitars. But I think these P90's especially, the gainy sounds are just unbelievable. So what I'm going to do today, folks, is plug this guitar into a variety of different tube amps. No pedals, I'm just going to crank the amps up. And as well as a few cleaner sounds, I'm just going to get the amps to edge of breakup and sort of medium gain, because it just sounds unbelievable. But of course, in a small room with 50-watt tube amps in some instances, a fully hollow guitar and unpotted pickups, we're going to run into a few feedback issues. But you know what? I just don't care, because the sound of this guitar into a roaring amplifier is just godly. So there might be a few sort of feedback tales today. I might change my playing up. I'm not going to do too many sort of long sustained chords, because that's where the feedback really comes in. But I just want to show you the range of tones this guitar can create, because it is phenomenal. So without further ado, folks, here we go. So there we are, folks. Now please do comment underneath, let me know what you thought of the sounds coming out of this guitar today. Which amp did you prefer it with and why? I love chatting nerdy guitar stuff with you folks down in the comments section. But I've just listened back to some of the bits I recorded today, and they're just some of my favourite recorded guitar tones I've ever achieved in this room. The harmonic complexity and richness of this guitar is just next level. Having a firmer low end because of the Bixby, having a slightly sort of sweeter top end that just pushes an amp in a really beautiful way. This is just a recording monster. Yes, we get a few feedback issues being fully hollow and with unpotted pickups, I know, but you can, even in a small room, use it with a screaming amp. The Morris amp I was using today is kind of a sort of 40-45 watt plexi, and in the higher gain mode there was a huge amount of gain going on. And yes, if you hold a chord or a note it will feed back fairly quickly, but even in this small room it's still fairly manageable. So a lot of people say that you can't play a 330 live or with gain without stuffing it with foam. I don't really find that. And a bit of feedback's fun. Even playing clean, where it's just on the edge of feeding back, you can kind of hit a sort of chord and it will just kind of sustain, and you can just hold it on the edge of feedback with a Bixby. It is so much fun to play. But as always, folks, those are just my thoughts. I'm definitely fizzy about this guitar, and I'm not going to put it down for another 3 weeks now. But please do let me know your thoughts underneath. I love hearing from you guys on all this sort of stuff. So thank you ever so much for watching, folks. I hope this video was interesting and useful, and if you're after a playing example of the Wizz P90's, there you go. But please do carry on subscribing. I know I always say it, but it makes a big, big difference when you hit subscribe. And I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.